Good. Go away, little box. Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is going to be another Paintisode live. Kind of the last one, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But what I'm going to be doing today, and what I always do with these Paintisodes, is we're going to sit down. You don't need to watch this. I'm just going to be painting poorly for about an hour, yapping about some stuff. I have a bunch of people that sent me questions, so I'll be answering all those. And then, meanwhile, while you're watching this, you kind of paint your own things so that after an hour, I have some painted stuff, you have some painted stuff, and I got to yap for about an hour. As usual, who knows if this thing's picking up the right type of sound and all that stuff, or if it's coming from the wrong microphone. But whatever, we'll deal with what we got. So what I'm going to be painting today is a storm wall. This is from War Machine. This is from Signar. These guys are pretty badass. But I'm going to be working on my second one. So whereas this is my first one, I'm going to be working on Mrs. Stormwall. Oh, and really where this idea came from, I can't really show it. I'm just going to have to hold these while I talk this through. So for those, just for some quick little notes, the Stormwall is a very powerful model. It's a lot of points in War Machine, but it's really powerful. I'm going to my second one. You can only take a max of 2, and so partly because, hey, if I'm going to be taking this thing that's really powerful, and also partly because they're controlled by different guys, I want them to look different to have some fun. So we're going with the pink one. It was funny. I kind of posted up on the site there saying, hey guys, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I thought I'd get a lot of hate over it. Like, oh, don't paint it pink. Don't do that. But I actually got a lot of support for it. And then some of them, there's those that take it that extra step. And they're like, oh, well, you should be, instead of doing grass for the base, you should make like a kitchen or something for them to be on. Or I should make sure there's a dress. I should make sure there's a couple of things. Like, here's one of the other ideas. Whereas, on the back of trucks, they have like the metal balls that come at the bottom. I could have like a tampon that's hanging down there. I'm not going to do this. This would be like if I really want to be kicked out of tournaments. But either way, I figure that having this pink storm wall will be enough to take attention and hopefully will draw less hate. So that when I go to a tournament and people are wondering, why in the world do you have 2 storm walls, you jackass? Hopefully that'll be somewhat put off by the fact of, hey, one looks kind of crazy and silly. So we will see. The first tournament I'll be doing this at is on the 25th, I believe it is. So we'll see how much anger I get there. But as you can see, I've already done most of it. So this last weekend here, I really kind of focused on it. I want to get done because I have other stuff I want to paint. But really, I'm just doing like the last little highlights here. And, well, highlights for me. Other people would call them just basic colors. But then after that, just the wash, and it's pretty much good to go. But like I said, let's touch on this first. I've been doing this Paintisode for not a super long time. I don't know, maybe half a year now. But the big thing that I'm going to be doing is transitioning it over. So for a while, I was doing this. There was Warhammer Weekly. And then Warhammer Weekly kind of stopped when Nick went on vacation and Tyler moved and got married and all this stuff. And since then, there's been a couple of initiatives to try and keep the whole online video thing going. So you have, oh yeah, my cuckoo clock I put back in. Good, I'll know when I was an hour then. Shut up! Okay. You have Materium who did his. So he has his whole fluff one that he does there. Then what we also just recently had is it's actually on Monday. It should be happening like nowish. Is Whoopi and Pony doing their Hammer Bros one. They're not doing it today for whatever reason, but I mean that's going on. But really, what we wanted to do was to bring back the Warhammer Weekly. Now, what we're going to do then is I'm going to stop doing the Paintisodes. But don't worry, if you really want something to watch while you paint, you can always watch that Hammer Bros one that's on Naren's channel. But what I'm going to be doing then instead is on Thursdays, same time, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, as I'm going to be doing the Warhammer Weekly with Whoopi on this channel here. So, I mean, again, if you just really like listening to my voice while you paint, hey, I mean, just switch nights. We're just going to be doing this Thursday now. The biggest thing that I love that's going to be so fun is that I said I want this to be done like the Dean Martin show, where I just show up, you arrange the guests, and we just have fun. So really looking forward to that. So again, I mean, if you, I can't imagine that you guys will miss watching me paint while I talk. So at least now you'll probably have something else that'll be going on screen-wise. I'll probably still be painting anyway, but there you go. So from now on, after this week, go to Naren's channel, the Brony guy, for the show that'll be on Tuesdays at this time, and then I'll be moving this to Thursdays, and that's really that. So otherwise, like I said, I posted up that I was going to be doing this today and had a whole bunch of questions to answer. So I'm going to pop over to that now. It's just on the Warhammer YouTubers page on Google+. And the first one here is from Skull Crusher King saying, how about if you had the models, how would you make a dwarf all-flying army list, including 2 bombers? Remember, only less than half your copters can have Vanguard, if you even want to have it. Well, obviously, the first thing you have to do if you're going to be doing the flying army is you're going to be taking your 6 gyrocopters and 2 bombers. And make no mistakes, I mean, gyro bombers and gyrocopters and the bombers, they're not super expensive. I mean, you're not talking like the cost of a giant or anything crazy, but that will start to add up. So that's already going to be a serious amount of your points gone already. Now, what you're really saying by having all that flying is that, 1, you're going to be controlling the movement phase, and 2, you're already kind of set up for a little bit of avoidance. You're already kind of set up where if you want to, you're kind of dancing around with all these points. You can be knocking out the war machines easy if you want. And hell, if you're up against elves, those elves are going to be crying. 3 sprays. While we're on that note, I'd only take 2 vanguards, so the ones that are on either flank, they're going to vanguard up, and then you still have on either side 2 gyrocopters and the 1 gyro bomber. But past that point, then you kind of have some options. What you could do with that is you could go for a gun line, because the biggest worry about a gun line is that you're going to get rushed. But if you have all these flyers going around that can redirect and double flee and all that good stuff, that really sets you up for doing that type of a thing. So, this is where you can bring out the Iron Drakes, and whether you want to go for the Thunderers or if you want to be going for whatever, bring out the war machines, bring out all the shooting, and go, go, go. You can just shoot to your heart's content, knowing that they probably won't get to you into the very final turns when they're already fairly mashed up. And I mean, you can also have other throwaway units too. Single Thanes are always a good choice. They're not too expensive. They're a little bit more pricey than they used to be, but still a very good choice for a last second, hey, you're almost at my lines, I'm going to throw something up in front of you. Or even 2 of them to double flee again. That's always the worst feeling, where you get finally to the gun line. And actually, I guess you'd probably be having engineers or something, but either way, you're finally there, turn 5, you're ready to charge on the turn 6, and what do? Just run a couple of characters in front of you, so you can't even charge. But the other way of doing it is that since you are controlling the movement phase, you can also take it a little bit more aggressively. Normally, you kind of want to sit back because, hey, you're so slow, and you might as well take advantage of your war machines and all the rest. But hey, maybe this is now the time that you want to be taking miners and rangers and all the rest of it, and or maybe just vanguards on your units, and really just rush them. And what the flying list allows you to do then is to really, like I say, control the movement phase so that your normally very slow dwarves are suddenly grabbing the initiative, blitzing one of the flanks, and preventing support from the other flank. So that's something that can also work very well. Of course, you'd have to be more careful with it. So you'd have to, I mean, it's one of those things, you can't be the lazy player. You have to be really watchful of your redirect angles and all the rest of it. And so I'm guessing most people, if they're going to be going this route, would just go with, oh, okay, I'll do the gun line, right? You little flyers, go out there, do your thing, and I'm just going to stand back here and roll them dice. And you know, it's not exactly the most fun to play with or against, but it's hard to argue with effectiveness. All right, here I'm just going to finish off this little bit here. I can't do details and read at the same time. It's impossible. Next one here from Skull Crusher King saying, what new models do you think we're see in the new Chaos book? I think the rumor is, whereas the Chaos and Demons team up, what special characters? I believe that stuff has actually been leaked already. So for those who haven't seen it, there's these new like Nurgle elite guys. They are infantry, and yet they're on the 40 mil bases. They're pretty damn tough. Of course, they have the mark of Nurgle, toughness 5, 3 attacks, all this good old stuff. But yeah, 40 points each. And at first I was like, yeah, there's no way. I mean, they're only movement 4, blah, blah, blah. It's just too many points. But with that, man, they can actually be pretty tough. Now, the problem that they have not being monstrous infantry is the fact that, one, they can't be stomped, and they thus can be stomped. And two, they're really only effective in one rank. Whereas trolls, you can be putting in multiple ranks and you're not losing any attacks. For these guys, as soon as you go multiple ranks, you are just straight up losing attacks. Just good for you. You are getting less attacks. There you go. So that's really going to mean that you're going to want to be taking these guys. And of course, it'd be better if I remembered what they are called, but I can't remember. You're going to be wanting to take these guys in single rank. So maybe you're going to be taking a unit of 3, right? Just 3, 120 points. You know, not too big of an investment, but these guys are basically around the chaff area, and yet this chaff can go ahead and clear things out. Now, the problem is that this chaff is kind of slow at movement 4, so that's not really great. I mean, of course, if they were movement 6 like trolls and stuff, then that'd be great, right? Go ahead, run up there, do your thing, clear out that chaff. But there's also supposed to be a new special character coming out. I believe he's a Nurgle guy. It's a name I hadn't heard before, but then again, it's not like I'm a super guy in the fluff. And really, given what came out with this first book, probably the biggest thing to keep in mind is anything was really possible. I mean, maybe they were in the fluff, but all these more geists and all that stuff that came out, to my knowledge, those are just completely new and made up. So when it comes to the new book, who knows what type of things they can come out. It's just like the plague drones, right? Again, according to my knowledge, I had never heard of a plague drone before, and then bam, here are these crazy bug cav flying across the table. Now, it is kind of too bad that it is just Nurgle and not other stuff, but yeah, should be kind of interesting to see. And it's supposed to be right away, too. I mean, here I thought that they just had the one. Oh, man, it's got paint on my finger. At least I caught it. It always sucks when you get paint on your finger, grab the model somewhere else, you smear it over there. At least okay, don't do it again, you idiot. So, yeah, who knows what they are going to be coming out with. We'll also have to wait and see. And I believe the rumors are already out on that. So if you really are interested, you can go to Warseer. You can go, you know, all the usual places to get those rumors. But for my part, I believe it when I can see it. I guess the picture's already out for those Nurgle elite troops. So there's the see it. I haven't bothered to go see them yet because I'd be busy. But see, this is how much I'm giving to you guys. I could be going out there and seeing more of this stuff, but no, I want to spend time painting with you. Okay, so we have a few viewers here. I'm going to go check what the next question is. This is from Nick Fensky saying, how long or how many games do you think Anthony plays with his new dwarf army before he implodes in a fit of rage? You have to realize that he is constantly in a state of rage. So that's not even, that's like a trick question, because before he even got the army, he was probably already mad. Now, as far as how far is he going to go before he starts really hating the certain parts of it, it's going to be game number one. Game number one. Now, especially for someone going into dwarves from another army, you start realizing some of these things right away, where, wow, my model count is way lower than I thought it was going to be. So when you first think you're getting into dwarves, you're like, man, I'm going to take this and this and this and this. And then you start making that list, and it's like, wow, there just is not room for all the things I need to take. And then when you start playing the game, and you start realizing how slow that movement 3 is. Oh, man, especially now that there's no anvil to help that out. Watchtower, for sure, is painful. I mean, your reinforcements have to spend like 2 turns walking up just to get into position. You know, this is assuming no swift reform tricks or anything like that. But so I'm sure right away from game number 1 there'll be some Anthony rage over the dwarves. I mean, that's just, it's not even a question. It is going to happen. It's going to check the other model. Yeah, I did paint that. So there, that answers that question. That's a pretty easy one. I am really glad though to see him going into dwarves. I had that other post up talking about how I'd like to see him doing some character crazy builds with his dwarves. We'll see which way he takes it. I mean, that's one of the great things is that, of course, I have my way of playing dwarves, but if Once Bitten was to play it, he'd have his way of doing it. Anyone, right, was going to play them a slightly different way. I mean, hell, we even said that or saw that when we had our Bretonnian campaign. You know, you would think, oh, it's just Bretonnians. There's only so many different ways you can run them. And yet, the 3 of us played in fairly different ways. So really cool to see. And who knows, you know, maybe these dwarves, even after he gets past his first rage, will be right up his alley, right? They got cannons. They're tough. They have good leadership. So they can really shut down the magic phase. So maybe this will be his true calling, and he'll stick with him for a long time. But only time will tell. Next one here. Oh, it looks like it's a long one. Yeah, a whole bunch from MC1 Gamer. First one. Do you expect to see summoning demons for all armies in the next End Times release? Same as last book, with everyone able to use the Lore of Undeath to summon undead. I believe there already was a rumor about that, and that it was dispelled. Oh, that's supposed to be black? Okay. But it's definitely something that could be done. I mean, my first thought when I first think about that idea is like, oh, no, you know, raising demons, that's just kind of silly to allow that to everyone. But then again, they did it with the undead. So why not? Why not be raising demons all over the place to be redirecting and doing whatever? And you do have a pretty good range of them as well, of the different types of demons. So it's not like you're super limited. Of course, for the undead, you're drawing from 2 different armies and all the rest. So there was a really big pool to draw from. But at the same time, I think there's enough from the demons that is possible. So as far as do I think it will or will not, GW would be smart to do it, because just like with the undead, where they said, hey, if you want, you can start raising undead, and people were all over it. They're buying undead to raise with their high elf army. Then they're buying more high elves to convert, so that since, you know, it looks kind of silly for raising some undead humans to fight with your elves, you know, maybe I'll be raising up some undead elves, right? Bring them back. Bring back the ancestors to help us, right? So they're doing all these conversions, which is more cha-ching for GW. So as far as that goes, you know, I would put my money on betting that that will be in the new book, just because it's in GW's best interest. Now, sure, you could say that they don't always seem to do things that are in their best interest, but only time will tell. And apparently it's not that long either until we're going to start seeing this stuff coming down the pipeline. So here's question number 2. How would you counter a dwarven army heavy with characters under the 50% end times rules? Choose any army or mention briefly how you do it with just your own armies. Also, how do you feel about an already smallish army being even smaller with characters eating so many points? Well, let's first of all talk about the second one. So what this is referring to is I did that one episode, like I already kind of mentioned about how I really feel that going forward, dwarves will be very powerful because they can make some of the most resilient lords in the game. And they have the ability to take multiple. So whereas other people, they can make like one really resilient character, dwarves can make several, and they can then do this whole character bus thing very well, where the whole front row can be all dwarf lords. So basically in the 5, it'll be dwarf lord and shield bearers, BSB, dwarf lord and shield bearers, and if they have a rune priest, he's back in the 2nd rank. Now, where was I painting here? As far as that making the army smaller, well, for the most part, there's already points going to characters already. I know for my part, I really minimize the points going into it, but the biggest thing that I find in a lot of dwarf armies is that because there's so many options, people are kind of spending points all over the place, and so it really comes down to a matter of trimming. Oh, okay, maybe I don't put that extra rune on the cannon, and I don't do this, and I don't do that. Or rather than taking a rune lord and a rune priest, I'm just going to be turning one of those into a dwarf lord. So the army will obviously get smaller. You cannot do it again. You cannot just add things and have it not come out from anywhere else. Otherwise, hey, everyone would always be taking extra characters all the time. But clearly, it has to come from somewhere. Say in my own armies, I mean, if you look at the last one, right, they take that stupid guy in an anvil. Well, that guy on the anvil, right there, bam, can be one of the characters. I already take the BSB. I already take the rune priest. So I only need to free up the points for one more lord. And another big question here, too, is that you can go as expensive or as cheap as you'd like. You can make them fairly resistant for not many points at all. So it's all about how crazy you want to go. But for my part, what I could do is I can't really take it from my core because I keep my core pretty much at 25%. But where I could do is that I could be knocking out some war machines. So right now I'm running 5 war machines, 2 cannons, 2 organ guns, and a flame cannon. Well, I could be dropping a flame cannon because now these guys will be dealing with the troops. I could be dropping an organ gun, and we're already pretty much there for what I need for getting the character. So it's not a huge one. Of course, if you're going to go really over the top, you have to try and drop a lot of things, but I think it's doable. And in the end, the whole idea is the whole fact that you are going to be doing points denial from your opponent. So now that I've kind of explained this, which is important for those who did not watch my last video, how would my armies deal with that if I faced it? And again, it's almost a question of if I knew it was coming, because right now I own 3 armies still. I own my dwarves, which I can ignore because I would not probably be looking at the mirror match. I own orcs and goblins, and I own the high elves, my whole monster list. Now, there's my standard tournament list, and there's what I could take if I knew this was going to happen. Now, what I mean by that is for the orcs and goblins, if I took my regular tournament list of a horde of black orcs, horde of savage orcs, horde of trolls, blah, 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 it might not be the best thing to take that on. What you really need to do is have enough chaff to be taking it down. So I guess one of the first things you want to do is you have to realize it is going to be a slow unit coming at you. So it does not have to be your first priority of what to take down. What you should be doing instead is knocking down the other things, say like make sure to shoot down the gyrocopters so that they cannot dictate to you movement, because you're going to want to try and team up on these blocks. Also, if you could take out, if you are dedicated on things like war machines, you want to be taking out their war machines. So my rock labas would be going for their cannons, and meanwhile my doom divers would be going for the gyrocopters or something like that, just to kind of make sure I take out those elements first in the first couple of turns. Then I deal with the main block. Now, depending on how things have gone up to this point, if I'm already up 100 points from destroying gyrocopters and war machines, of course it depends how much he killed with his return fire. If I'm up 100 points, I'm in control. I'm saying, hey, Speed 3 Army, you now are having to come to me, and I can do the double fleas, I can be running away, whatever I need to do to keep that lead. If I am not in the lead, let's say those war machines, as I was taking out his cannons, he was taking out my stuff, or maybe he got first turn, and he just took out both my rock labas first, and I have to really get in this. What you need to do then to deal with this is realize that if you hit that block on one flank, all the characters shift over and you're screwed. So what you need to do is hit that block on two flanks. So you're going to need to get up there, spread out, set up some way where you are going to be double fleeing or redirecting or controlling the movement phase such that you are setting them up for a double charge. And not double charge in the front, something has to be in the flank or rear so that you can be getting attacks on the squishy dwarves, because you're probably not going to get any points from attacking those toughness 7 characters with a 1+ save and who knows what ward and whatever else have you. So once you do that, you will have the one unit in the front, and hey, if you can, make it something like the Black Orcs. You know, if you could get the dream situation, Black Orcs are going to be in the front so that their strength 7 can actually stand a chance against those characters. And on the flank, that's where you have the savages or the trolls or whatever you will get into place, and they're just going to be ripping up those warriors. Now, at the same time, remember, they probably also have another combat block there. So if they do have the hammerers, you are going to have a plan in place to be keeping them out of the fight. Or, if you believe it's possible, do it so that you keep the other unit out and then really smash those hammerers or whatever other combat block they take. But just realize that you have to basically get in there and get out. Otherwise, all of a sudden, if you get locked into a long combat, all of a sudden that character-heavy block joins combat anyway, and the mission is failed. So the other army I can talk about is with my High Elves, which is my flying list. And since I pretty much only own the monsters, it doesn't really matter whether I know about it or not. But what I'm going to do in this case is I definitely am more mobile than those dwarf characters. And so I'm going to blitz in. I'm going to try and destroy their war machines as fast as I can, like always. Archers, shooting cannons, all the rest of it. And when those are down, that could be the end of story. Fly in, destroy war machines, fly away, I win the game. Now, assuming that on the way to destroying war machines, they shoot down a dragon or a frost phoenix, and I need to get more points, this is where, again, I'm either going to try and spread around so I can hit that lord-heavy unit from multiple places, or probably better yet, going for the other combat unit. But really, get 100 points ahead, get the hell out. And that's going to be the best way to do that. So I'm going to check now to see if you have any comments from people actually watching. Oh, we do. Mr. Rennick says, hey, Mal, really enjoy the Paintisodes, even the last one. Hey, must be desperate if you like that last one. Glad you hang in there. And your recent video on the dwarves, some additional ideas. One, Bugman to act as a medic. I mean, you could do that for your lords and on shields. I mean, remember, they're going to have like 5 wounds and stuff, so I mean, you could always do that. Have him back there healing. You could do the Slayer Congo lines, 5 models with a giant Slayer in the front. You could do that. Yeah, I mean that's the whole Congo line with Slayers is always a possibility. Not as reliable though, just because there's usually fewer models. I mean, unless you're gonna have a Congo line that goes across the entire thing, you really are gonna need to have fewer models so you can actually control that. So then all of a sudden, if they're hit by a magic missile or doom diver or whatever else, then you just got like the guy, and things can fall apart really quick. But we're going to be going back to the questions we had from the other spot. So a third one now from MC1 Gamer saying, are you seeing an upcoming End of Times comp at GTs by TOs, such as no double demon princes, great unclean one, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's going to be a time for them to really put it in place. Now, of course, there are so many different tournaments around. So everybody has their own comps. So do I foresee comp? Yes, there'll be comp somewhere. Overall, though, I mean, all of a sudden you're dealing with these end times. People are already just trying to gauge what type of builds they should be expecting to see and thus comp. But at the same time, like we already said, we're about to come out with another book. So they almost have to just say, go ahead, use the actual rules, and then we'll just kind of see where things are when all the dust settles. But you're going to be having all the books from these end times to deal with, and then as soon as that's done, or maybe partway in between, you're also going to have to deal with ninth. And so there is so much change going on that I know, like some of the local tournament organizers, they're just saying, go ahead, just do your thing, use the rules as they are in the book, take your 50%, take your 2 demon princes, and the best way that they can kind of let that go is to say, hey, everybody know that this is going to be happening. Bring your war machines, be prepared, bring your own filth, and we'll just kind of see what happens and, you know, change things up after. You know, I'm a tournament organizer, and if I was to put a tournament on tomorrow, would I comp out double demon prince? No. I see it as a problem. However, I'm one of these people who are heavily against comp. And I mean, once you say no double demon prince, then people start saying, well, what about other doubles, right? Should we be saying no double hell pit abomination? Should we be saying no double steam tank? You know, it's that slippery slope that once you start on, you can have all the best intentions in the world, but then it just opens up that door, and it's just how far are you going to go before you eventually stop? So if I had a word of advice to other TOs, I just say don't touch comp, just say play by the rules and go with it from there. Of course, I have a big, huge glob of paint on me just before I have to read. So next one here. Do you, and this is still MC1 Gamer sent me tons. Do you think the new Archaon or whatever the new Monster Chaos release that is upcoming will out Nagash? Meaning, will GW keep rationing up new release power with the end of times? So really, it's a question of will they be doing power creep? And I don't think so. I mean, from what we've been seeing from GW, from the 8th ed books, it's not like back in 7th, where it's like every book, or in 40K was always really bad for that. Every book has to really outshine the last one, and the new book is designed to counter the old book and all this. I really would not expect that. Well, we're at halftime already. I would expect to see some powerful things in there. Something along the lines of the Nagash type build where you're raising and all that stuff. So there will be powerful builds in there, but will it be enough that it'll be really seen as a power creep? I would not expect so. I am kind of wondering how the fluff is going to vastly change going to the new book. You know, if so much changed in this last one, what's going to happen now, right? We're talking now from the Chaos side. Apparently, they're controlling Cetra. You know, what's going to happen there? And it's, you know, it's just anyone's guess. You know, it's really one of those things where before, if you're wondering what's going to happen to Fluff, just read the last book. Nothing's going to really change. Maybe a retcon to force in a new unit, but that's really it. Now, You know, orcs and goblins wiped out. I don't know. Could be possible, right? Anything's possible. That would get me really excited, though. One of the releases was, like I said, saying, like, okay, next is Chaos. If next was Orcs and Goblins, I would be ecstatic. It would be awesome. You know, just trying to look forward to what type of crazy thing could be coming up for them, what type of crazy new units. But we are now going to go on to this question 5, which I believe is his last one. Yes. With the combined armies that are being rumored, are there any armies that you are looking forward to fielding as a unified list? For example, High Elves and Wood Elves, or Chaos and Dark Elves. Not really, simply because I sold that stuff. So when I had my Wood Elves, man, if I could mix my Wood Elves with my High Elves, that'd be fantastic, right? Right now, the biggest problem I have with my High Elves is dealing with my core, and I would love to be having some Glade Riders with True Flight arrows. Those would be great core. But unfortunately, I can't do that. So whatever, I don't own the models anymore. Those guys are bye-bye. So as far as what combinations are possible, I don't know. I really would like to see a unified Chaos coming back, so that there is the, you know, you can do your Beastmen and mix in your humans and mix in your demons. You know, I miss those combined armies the way they used to be, and just wondering, oh, which way they're going to take their book, right? Are they going to take, because the way it used to be is that you would either take a demon or a mortal general, and then that would dictate what was core and what was special for the rest. So if you have a mortal general, then okay, then Wars of Chaos and Marauders or core and demons are special. And if you did the other way and took like a demon prince, then all of a sudden demons are core. And where was I painting this thing, wasn't I? All the human stuff was special. So really easy way of doing it. Wasn't overpowered, made for different builds, and I would love to see that coming back. As far as other things combining, I don't know. There's nothing else I'd really look forward to combining. I'm sure, like talking about the elves and stuff, could be neat, but that idea there of the game that combined High Elves and Dark Elves, that just irks me, because that's supposed to be a classic rivalry. It'd be kind of like, oh, in the new book, Beastmen are best friends with dwarves. Or sorry, orcs and goblins are best friends with dwarves. And it says, wait, what? You know, they're supposed to be mortal enemies. They're supposed to hate each other. And now we're working together? Oh, no, it totally makes sense, because they have to join forces to fight Nagash. Well, that's great. You can write whatever story you want. It still just does not sit right with me. So it's weird. You know, I don't see myself as a fluff player, and yet some of these little fluff things just bother me to no end. So those are ones from MC1 Gamer. Now we have one from Marcus Lidstrom saying, regarding the new leaked, oh, everything has shifted. Regarding the new leaked Blight guys and Nurgle, do you think all the marks will get something similar? From what I have heard, no. This is going to be more of a Nurgle release. I don't know why they would do that. You know, say like for the last one here, End Times, you have the one, you have the Horsemen, which are 3 different ones, right? And they kind of spread out between the armies. But from what I was hearing, it was mainly supposed to be just Nurgle releases. So unfortunate. I really feel that they should have done something for everyone, just so that everybody's happy. You know, for the guys out there who are Tzitz players, you know, they come on, give me something. But what are you going to do? Next one here from Fernando Lannis saying, how do you suggest to improve a list? How many games before doing any changes to it? Well, when people want to change a list, what I always tell them to do is attack that thing item by item. So I will, let's say if I'm looking at my own list, I will say, okay, what do I have in my list? Okay, option number one. Why is it here? What is the specific tactical or functional reason why I have this in my army? And if I don't have a good reason, if it's just something I just threw in because, all right, there you go. Points are freed up. Now, the next question from all the things that are in there is there some way I could do this better? You know, if I'm taking this one unit or I have this character with this one set of items on it, the question is, could I be doing something else that would be doing that function better? And that one can be a little bit harder sometimes, but it's something you really have to take a look at to make sure you are sure I'm taking this for this reason, but hey, if I did this other thing here, it would just do it better. The hardest part after that, if you've done that and you're still failing and you want to really perfect a list, you have to really get broader and say, okay, what is my overall game plan that I try and do? You know, these are my fast attack. They go out there, they redirect. This shoots. I try and double flank. And then ask yourself, why is it not working? You know, why is it that this is not working out for you? And look at the areas where your army is falling apart, and then really take a hard time looking at it and say, is there a different strategy that I should be pursuing? You know, maybe the whole idea of, like I said, I'm going to be trying to be double flanking, you know, maybe I should be setting up a castle. You know, if I was a castle, how would that change my list, right? So that can really be a lot harder because you're making very big, significant changes to your list. And in doing so, you're really having to spend a lot of time just really reinventing the wheel is probably the best way to put it. So hopefully that's not something you have to do. But like I said, first step is just to go unit by unit. I believe there's another part of the question. And how many games you play before you change it? It really depends on how badly it went. You know, if I go and I do one game and I'm like, wow, these snotlings, they're useless. You know, sure, take them out. However, if I play a game and it's like, wow, you know, I took the flame cannon and I went up against the flying monster army of Malorians, high elves, and it really just did not do what it's supposed to do. You know, I should probably drop this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just wait a second, because maybe that was just a bad matchup, right? And so maybe you want to try a couple more games. So if it's not something blatantly obvious, what would be my suggestion for the number of games of playing before you make a change? I would say 3. 3 is one where you should, assuming you're in a balanced meta, play against everything you need to really face to get a good spread of what you should be expecting from that unit, and then you can be making your changes from there. So I'm going to check see if there's, okay, there'll be lots of stuff here, lots of new comments while I've been answering the ones from the YouTube page. Oh man, of course it doesn't order them. Nazgub saying, what will be your Lizardman build for End of Times? Would you play 2 Old Bloods or try to fit Slan? Oh, well, the problem is for End of Times, you're having to make a build that can deal with Demon Princes and deal with the Gash and all this stuff. It would be Skink Cloud. That's the way that I feel you have to be kind of competitive with the Lizardman right now, is just Skink Cloud. Run around, do your thing. Yeah, I really feel like Lizardmen are in a bad spot given what the meta is right now. I know there are those who do very well with them, but to me, I probably would not even play them. F.H. McVeigh saying, Malorian, what are your thoughts about a Skaven character front in a Screaming Bell with Gracier and Fencer Blades? Any of the warlords could be on either War Leaders or Bone Breakers. It isn't as powerful as the Dwarf character's front, but for Skaven, it may work. You know, I don't even like the Screaming Bell at all because you can't even really protect them that well, right? Sure, you can have Fencer Blades and have less things hitting you, but still, there's going to be so many attacks that it's kind of a death sentence. So I would not be doing that at all. If you really wanted to try and replicate that with Skaven, you'd be going with something more like, what would I take for the core unit? Probably just slaves. And then the front of the unit, there you're going to have your one warlord. You have somebody set up with a fell blade. You can have assassins in there. You can have this. You can have that. And really the goal is to use your initiative to your advantage and saying, hey, things are going to come in. They're going to be deadly, but I'm going to be going first and really doing a lot of damage, killing off characters. And even if I lose combat overall, I'm going to be steadfast, and I should get my points from killing their characters. But again, the Skaven characters are so weak that you'd have to really worry about just getting killed off by regular troop guys. So I just don't see that being the way to go. Their answer to this is Dreaded 13th. You know, oh yeah, you want to take a bunch of characters? Boom, they're all rats. You know, that's their answer to the situation. They're not supposed to be fighting fire with fire. They're supposed to cheat and do it their own way. So don't try and make a Skaven Death Star. Just do your old tricks that have worked forever. Oh no. Okay, good. I didn't do it. Next one here from Derek Neal saying, what is your biggest hope for 9th edition changes? Scenarios. I used to be saying before that I really wanted the #1 change, saying that if you disrupt ranks, you also take away steadfast, which should be there. But the #1 thing I want now is just change the scenarios. I need scenarios that are forcing movement, which are forcing different builds, because right now what we have is not doing it. You know, my experience with War Machine is those scenarios are fantastic for controlling and getting the game going and avoiding Death Stars or whatever. It really kind of forces you to play the game and get in there. So that's what my hope is there, as I really want to see scenarios. Nazgub saying, thoughts? Thought you will play Lizardman again? No, probably not. I was for a while really going out there trying to play as many different armies as possible, but it's just not realistic. It's just not really the thing for me. So especially after spending all that time painting 5,000 points of Lizardman, I don't think I could come back now and do it again. It would just be, I'd look at it and say, nope, not going to do it. It looks like it's doubling what's said there. So I'm going to go back to the Warhammer YouTubers, and this one is from Timothy Burr. Oh, this is probably talking to somebody else. Yeah, he's just talking to somebody else here. Alex Bowler saying, will end times rules affect the lists you bring to tournaments for your orcs? Will you bring less hordes and concentrate on characters, or just stay as you are? If GW introduces allies, do you think orcs and goblins, who do you think they could be paired up with? Well, at this point here, I am still waiting to see how dirty my meta gets with the new rules. I mean, with these, will I even see the double demon princes and all the rest of it? Or will people pretty much stay their own way? Or will the meta say so many cannons that people don't go with that crazy stuff? So my first idea is, this is why I'm doing War Machine for this first one, is just to sit back and see what actually is going to be happening out there. I know some guys like Matthew Reese, whoa, got a huge crap on my fingers. Paint. They're going to be going with the Nagash and going crazy with that. So that's like one of my biggest worries. But as far as dealing with Nagash, I believe I have the tools to do that. So if I was to face Nagash, I would have my Doom Divers, I'd have my Rock Labas. I've been putting in my Spirit Chuckas now. So I believe I could shoot him down. So shoot that guy down, kill the other little nasty stuff that he raises, and should be okay if the shooting phase works out. Now, as far as dealing with Demon Princes, same answer. Just got to shoot those guys out of the sky before they get to you. So that's, again, just kind of the same thing there. How would I change my army, though? Like, would I drop the hordes and take, like, a character bus myself? I don't think so, because, again, although orcs and goblins can get really killy, we're not really good at being resilient. There's a couple of builds you can make for it, but it's just not like what the dwarves can do or the warriors of chaos. So it's just really not there. As you've already seen, I would play around more with the triple wyvern just because it's different and crazy, but they're going to need to have like trolls there to hide behind to make sure they don't die and just get shot out from the sky. But other than doing fun stuff like that, I don't think I would really be embracing taking all the characters. It's just not what orcs and goblins are good at. You know, stick to what you're good at and win that way. But then again, I gotta wait and see, right? Maybe everybody is going to go crazy character heavy. I have to be starting to deal with characters that can deal with them, or going more defensive. I just gotta wait and see what the meta does. Sorry, getting a little stuffy here. As far as what allies should work with orcs and goblins, I think the number one army that should work with orcs and goblins is beastmen. You know, we're wild and crazy, they're wild and crazy. Sure, we might have to fight each other, and maybe that'd just be an animosity thing, right? You have to roll off and see if you randomly fight each other. But it seems that we're cut from the same jib. You know, we're both after the same thing. So why not have beastmen and orcs and goblins being buddy-buddy, and hey, you know, I want to ransack that town and kill everyone. That's great. I want to ransack that town and kill everyone too. You know, first one to the tower wins. You know, why not? So that's who I'd like to see. I don't know what they'd say for justifying it, but I think that'd be a lot of fun. Just checking now to see if there's any other spot I was supposed to be doing a different color. I don't want to start doing a wash and then find out, oh no, I was supposed to paint this too. But as you can see, Pinky is looking pretty good. Pretty good is a relative term. He's pretty much done. And now I believe I'm on to my wash. Good old-fashioned Malorian wash. While I'm here, I can see that Yoshi, Chris Tazuk, is watching, saying any tricksy Undead Legion ideas or builds to fear to face. The big one is just Nagash. Nagash with a bunch of archers and Skelepults in the back, and they're just going to be shooting, and Nagash will be raising. You gain no victory points for killing all of his stuff, unless like all of his raised stuff, and meanwhile, he's just shooting you down, right? Those Tomb Kings archers who are always hitting on a 5+, you know, those guys are great at taking down war machines. And if he takes down the war machines, well, then nothing is really threatening Nagash, and then he kind of has a vacation dancing around, raising, and charging in if he ever really wants to. So that's the real big build to worry about from the Undead Legion. You know, I've heard other stuff where people want to go with Archon of the Black or whatever else, but really those are just trying to take the middle ground. It's going to be those who go balls out and say, you know what, we're negashing this. We're going to do it. That the biggest risk will get the biggest reward. And sure, they might not win the tournament, but they're going to kick your butt, and then you're not going to be winning the tournament either. So be prepared. Take lots of shooting. If you used to take one cannon before, start taking two. If you took two, start taking three or another war machine. Just be prepared that there's going to be a massive guy worth 1,000 points that if you don't find some way to shoot down, he'll be raising up about 400 points a turn for you to fight just for funsies. So that is the nasty, nasty trick to be looking out for. Blubber Guts Fatty saying, as good as Witch Elves are for 11 points, I really like the idea of 2 units of 20 Dark Shards, 2 ranks of 10 with shields, coming in at 13 points with shields. Do you think the range attacks is a fair trade-off for the mental attacks of the Witch Elves, an extra point cost? I say you want both. You know, you want to be taking that shooting, you want to be taking those witches, and I don't think you should be really asking an either or. you should be building a balanced list which takes advantage of all the strengths of the Dark Elves. And Dark Elves, they are good at combat. They are good at medium light shooting. So just embrace that, right? Embrace that. Take it all in your list, and more so learn how to use them in unison. So those, and I believe maybe it's screwing up. I'm pretty sure the Dark Shard ones are the crossbow guys. I really wish they wouldn't have changed that name. Why did they change the name? Instead of just Dark Elf Crossbowman. But since you said a trade-off of shooting, I'm going to assume that's who they are. But yeah, use those to shoot down the chaff so that then they can't frenzy redirect your witches. And then when it comes to combat, can't beat those witches for pump out of attacks, right? They're the ones you want to be doing that with. Sorry, nose getting all stuffy. Okay, so we're going back to the Warhammer YouTubers because I am going to finish this. Lord Stannis Baratheon. I just in the last month, me and my wife watched 3 seasons, the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. So I enjoy that comment. I am all about the Game of Thrones right now. I'm way behind the times, but who cares? I'm enjoying it. Anyway, what his question is, Malorian, in your honest opinion, which is asking a lot, what does Bretonnia deserve to get as a new unit or special rules in their army book for having to wait so long for an update? Now, keep in mind that I don't think I'm going to be following this the same way as you, because it seems to me that you're saying that because they had to wait so long, they have to be getting something really, really, really good. And that would not solve anything, right? Having an army you have to wait forever, and then their new army is just like broken as all hell, that's not really fixing anything. It's just a new problem. And sure, the Bretonnian players who had to wait it out, they'll be like, haha, I'm kicking people's butts, this is awesome. In the end, it's just not going to be good for the game. So if that's the real question of what type of broken stuff should they get, my answer is they just shouldn't. They just should not get broken stuff. What should they get? If you play 40K, the Dark Eldar just got a release, and it's pretty meh. It's really not much of anything, and people don't like it. So I don't want that. What I do want is their last book. The last time the Dark Eldar were released, GW completely redid the line. Just bam, here's a new everything. And so where they only had old, ugly models, seem familiar, all of a sudden, bam, their line was completely redone, and army, lots of new rules. It looked amazing. Everybody loved it. I say that's what the Breton have of rules all worth hitting all. Looked like I lost my camera for a second. It looks like we're back, if that's what actually indeed happened. And I lost. It's not showing the bar anymore for my comments. Uh-oh. Says we're still live, so I'm just going to keep talking and keep going with it, because why not? We're about at the hour, so I'm just going to be finishing the wash on this. And actually, let's just go back. So it's going to be the Giant. Giant does crazy things. Like sometimes he gets his butt kicked. He gets his butt kicked in combat, and then when he dies, he falls over and kills his attackers, right? Or he falls over and kills somebody from a unit beside him, or just something crazy like that. So to me, that is the funniest thing in Orcs and Goblins. And if you ever can, run 2 Giants, because first of all, competitively, they work better in pairs. So whereas, you always want to get double Thunderstomps, so you never have to worry about just Thunderstomping 1 and losing by that way. But as well, 2 rolls on the random table, never know what's going to happen, right? You might just grab their lord and shove them down your pants. That's a real thing that happens. Think that you're going to be stuck because somebody throws a Spirit Host in front of you? Nope. Spirit Host is down your pants. Problem solved. So there's that one. One here from Grant the Zombie. Can you do a rundown of your High Elf flyer list and how it performs? We hear about your Orcs and Goblins and Dwarves, but the High Elves don't get much screen time. Well, really what they are is I have a Archmage on Moondragon. I have a... And this is actually going to change. I have some new lists for them, talking about the end times and all the rest of it. But then I also have a Dragon Mage. I have a Griffin Noble. And then I have a couple of Eagles. I have 2 Frost Phoenixes. So I really have 5 monsters. And I just, whoosh, go in there, look for the weak points, attack the weak points, and take all them points. And then I can just run away. I do not need to engage, but I don't want to engage. As to how it performs, usually very, very well. Then there's other times, like my game against Once Bitten, where they panic off the board and I sit there looking like an idiot. So for the most part, I find it's a really powerful build. In fact, it's wrecked a couple of people's hobbies, where after their game against that, they just quit the game. And that's kind of the reason why I don't bring it out very much, is because after you become a hobby killer, you kind of don't want to do that again. So I still do love the army. Now that I can take 50% lords and heroes, there's some plans I have for that. But otherwise, I'll probably be playing more with my Orcs and Goblins and my Dwarves. So that little cuckoo clock to say it's been an hour. I have one more question on here from Vince Venturella saying, you are able to add any one unit to Orcs and Goblins, but you have to remove Savage Orcs. What would you add? Oh, I have to lose Savage Orcs. Now there's a question. Would I then want to add something that's going to replace Savage Orcs? Should I be getting like Savage Goblins and have these frenzied goblins going across? That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Before, if you didn't add that second part, you'd say, what should we add to Orcs and Goblins? I'd be saying I want a monstrous mount, and I want to be having something like Black Orcs riding trolls, and that'd be awesome. But if I'm going to lose that choice, I want something to replace it, and so it would be Goblins with Frenzy, and they could have 2-hand weapons, and blah, 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 and it'd be lots of fun. So either way, that's that. I'm going to close down the Google YouTubers. I'm going to see if there's any more comments that are on the actual page here from those of you who were watching. Goblins and have these friends. Quiet, you. We answered that. Oh, show was frozen 4 minutes ago. Uh-oh. Looks like we lost it. But either way, I am then going to end this because maybe I'm just yapping and saying nothing. So for those who watched, thank you for watching. And we'll catch you later. Bye.